Good morning, boys and girls. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I am reading another legend, and it is called Story of the Sun. Make sure you pay close attention to the characteristics that you see in this story. We've gone over plenty of times characteristics of a legend. All right, so we're getting into this. And as we get into okay, here we go. Story of the Sun. Let me move this. All right. Long ago, a curious young boy, lived in a far-off land. To the east, there were mountains. To the west, there was a large sea. So remember the setting. It's always taking place in nature. Is this taking place outside in nature? As each day began, the curious young boy sat and looked to the east. He watched the sun rise over the mountains. As each day ended, he looked west. He watched the sun sink into the sea. So he's watching the sun rise and the sun set, right? The curious boy's name was Ichiro. Ichiro wondered where the sun came from, and he wondered where it went each night. The harder Ichiro thought, the most confused he became. He wondered how many suns there really are. Would there ever be a time when a new sun would not rise from the east? Ichiro was smart. He knew that the sun brought light. He knew that without the sun, everything would be dark. He also knew that the sun brought warmth. He loved to feel the warm sun on his brown skin. Ichiro worried about a day when the sun might not rise. He worried about living in a land of darkness. He worried about being cold. Ichiro learned about a wise old man. He was told she knew the answers to everything. So he decided to visit her. The wise woman lived in a village, and the village was near the mountains. It was near where the sun rose each morning. One morning, Ichiro awoke early. He climbed on his giant pet emu and rode swiftly to the east. In a few hours, he entered the village. The wise woman greeted Ichiro warmly. She took him into her hut, and she began to answer his questions about the sun. First, she explained where the sun came from. Do you see that large mountain, the one that is towering above all the other mountains? She asked, pointing east. Ichiro replied, yes, I do. In fact, I see the sun rise over the mountain each morning. Well, said the wise woman, that is where new suns come from. Each night after the sun sinks into the sea, people from the village go to the mountaintop. They carry large pieces of wood and coal with them. They drop the wood and coal into a large opening at the top of the mountains, she said, and the mountain begins to rumble. It roars and smokes. The wise old woman kept telling her story. By morning, the rumbling is very loud. Then suddenly, the mountain spits out a giant ball of fire. The ball is spit out with great force. It shoots up high in the sky, and the fireball lights the land below as it travels across the sky. It also heats the land. When the ball of fire reaches to its highest point, it begins to drop, she continued, and in a few hours, it crashes into the sea. The cool waters of the sea put out the ball of fire. It is very important that villagers go to the mountain each night. They must feed it wood and coal, she said. As long as we feed the mountain, it will make a new sun each morning. But if we ever fail to do so, there would be no new sun. Then the land will become dark and cold. From that day on, Ichiro worried no more. He played happily in the trees. He knew there would always be light as long as the villagers took coal and wood to the mountain. The end. So that is just a story that is told about how the sun came about and why we see the sun. And it's really interesting because in science we learned about the sun. We learned where it goes. It kind of just goes around the earth, right? It doesn't actually seep into the water and then come up every morning from a volcano. Or from a mountain. That's not how it works. But these are always really cool legends. And like I said, they're not always necessarily true. Make sure you do the activity and I'll see you later. Bye.